Namaste everyone. Welcome to English lesson. Today we are going to learn voice. You know voice, don't you? You speak different kinds of sentences in your practical life. These sentences are either active or passive voice. So, we are going to learn about voice in today's lesson. So, let's have the examples. First of all, in active voice, the subject of the sentence performs the action. But just opposite of that, in passive voice, the subject does not perform the action there. The subject receives the action or is acted upon. Let's look at the example. Here, when you look at the active sentence, you see here in active sentence you find subject, verb and object in the sentence. Here the subject is the agent that performs the action. Similarly, in the passive voice, you can see here is the interchange of subject and object. All letter goes to the beginning of the sentence. You find the subject goes back. Similarly, you see the change of the verb here. First of all, subject and objects are interchanged. You can see John and later interchanged in the second sentence. And you can see the condition of the verb there. And in present tense, we use is, am or are and always past participle form of the verb. Here you can see the verb right. That's in singular form. And here you can see that is in the past participle form. Now let's look at the second example here. Columbus discovered America. In this sentence, Columbus is the doer. He is the agent. He has performed the action. The action is he discovered America. The same sentence can be written in passive voice. Here what we find is America goes first. As I told you earlier, the object goes to the beginning. Here America is object, but it becomes subject in the second sentence. And we make some necessary changes in the verb. As it is the past tense, we have used was. Was or were, according to situation we use. And this discover is in past participle form in the passive sentence. So, when the agent is clear, here the subject Columbus is very clear. So, we use by and agent. Now the sentence becomes America was discovered by Columbus. Now, I would like to focus on verb this time. To be. While changing into passive, we always focus on the verb that is to be. You see, here what happens is Gita will do this work. In this sentence, Gita and this work, subject and object, they will be interchanged. Here, we find the verb to be. This work will be done by Gita. In this case, what we find is that obviously the object goes to the beginning of the sentence and it becomes the subject here. And the verb, let's see the verb here, to be has been added. That is, will be done. Done is past participle form. Similarly, Gita comes back. And similarly, let's have a look at the next example here. People speak English all over the world. In this sentence, who is the agent? Who is the subject here? Subject is here people. In this sentence, the verb is speak. Okay, and next is English is spoken as it's in present tense. We change this into is spoken form. And spoken is, as I told you earlier, it is the past participle form of speak. And all over the world is the rest of the sentence, rest part of the sentence. In this sentence, John writes a letter. What we see is simple present tense, write is the verb, As John is singular, we are using their rights. So let's change this sentence into passive voice. What happens is, here right becomes is written in simple present. So if you look at the formula, you can see when we change simple present tense into passive, we add is, am or are and past participle form of the verb. Okay, I hope you understood simple present tense. Similarly, let's look at the next. Alright, when we move to simple past tense, here we find past form of the verb, obviously, that is simple past. Here we see Columbus discovered America. In this sentence, the verb is in past tense, that is simple past. And when simple past tense comes, we use this form, you see, was discovered. Subject and object are interchanged as usual. And I would like to focus you on verb, that is was discovered. And you can look at the formula here, that is was or were and past participle. Okay, now let's have a look at the new example, that is future tense. Okay, in simple future tense, what we do is we use be verb. You see, subject and object interchange, and will do. Gita will do this work. Here, verb is do. It has come in future tense. So this work will be done by Gita. Okay, and the formula based on this is will or shall plus be plus past participle. This way we change simple future tense into passive voice. Now we are going to talk about continuous tense. Okay, in the continuous tense, what happens is, you see the current action. Boys are playing football. Here, this is present continuous tense. Now you see the form of the verb changed here. That is, football goes first, that is okay, and is being played. As boys plural here comes are, but when football goes to the beginning as subject, and football is singular here, and football is being played by boys. In continuous tense, we use being. Alright? And let's have a look at the second example here. Girls were helping the orphans. In this sentence, you find past continuous tense. In past continuous tense, what we do is, okay, more or less similar to present continuous, we use being, but the only difference between present and past continuous tense is, here we use was or were according to subject. Here, girls, plural, were. Similarly, the orphans, okay, the orphans become the subject in the second sentence, that is the passive sentence, and we are using the were here. So, the orphans were being helped by girls. Were being helped. Alright? Now, let's have a look at the perfect tense. The sentence here is, nobody has stolen my books. My books have not been stolen. In this case, we are using not because the subject is nobody, that is negative. We are using been here in perfect case. Let's look at the next example. There we find farmers had harvested the crops. This is the past perfect tense. In this perfect tense, we use been, it is clear, and the crops had been harvested by farmers. Similarly, we move to the next example. In this example, what we see is they will have published the result by 4 p.m. When we change this sentence into passive voice, it becomes the result will have been published by 4 p.m. All the perfect tense take been when we change into passive voice. We are moving to the next examples with modal auxiliaries like will, would, shall, should, can, could, may, might, and must. With these modal auxiliaries, we use be form to change the sentence into passive. Let's have a look at the example. We should follow school rules. When we change this sentence into passive voice, it becomes like this. School rules should be followed. And let's look at the next example here. Can students speak English? In this sentence, as it is a question, we have to use the same question form. So, can English be spoken by students? We can change not only statements but also question, negative form, and other type of sentences into passive voice. Okay, now let's look at the next example. Here, used to, ought to, have to, and going to. Here have to represents has to and had to as well. So, let's have a look at the example. In the example, we can see the sentence, they are going to open a library in the village. Here, the library obviously goes to the beginning of the sentence. The subject in the first active sentence is plural, so they are going to. But in the second sentence, a library is singular subject, and it happens a library is going to be opened in the village. So this is how the sentence is changed into passive voice. You see the next example, Prem has to do this work with the case of has, have, and had, and it is followed by to. Let's look at the example. What happens here? This work has to be done by Prem. Alright, so we are going to look at the next example with interrogatives. We can change interrogative sentences into passive. Do they speak English? As it is in present tense, we are using is. Is English spoken by them? Alright. Similarly, we move to the next sentence. Who broke the glass? In this sentence, you see, by whom was the glass broken? It's very common. The first one is common. But sometimes we can use who was the glass broken by. But it's not very common. The first one is more appropriate in grammatical case. Okay? And here we go to the next one. Why did your brother write such a letter? In this sentence, we find the past tense. When the sentence is in past tense, we are using the past form here again. That is, why was such a letter written by your brother? So, question changes into passive and it comes in the question form. Tense is not changed, but certain verb forms we change. And now we are moving to the next example with imperatives. We can change the imperative sentences into passive. For example, open the door. When we change this sentence into passive, we can use in two different ways. The first is let the door be opened. This is very common. And we can use another form, that is the door should be opened. Similarly, let's look at the next example. In this example, we see do not give the order. It's in negative form. And we change into passive, let the order not be given. Or the same sentence can be changed into passive like the order should not be given. We have other examples as well. He gave me the book. In this case, we can find two objects. One is me, another is the book. So, in this case, we can change like this. I was given the book by him. Or, the book was given to me by him. By him is optional here because for pronoun, normally it's not necessary to use by and the same pronoun again. So, here are double objects, me and the book. And this is the process of changing into passive. Now, let's look at another example here. The teacher showed us a map. Here also we find the double objects. In the case of double objects, we follow the same rule, like we were shown a map by the teacher. Here us goes to we. We were shown a map by the teacher. teacher is clear, so we use by and the teacher. And the same sentence can be changed like this. A map was shown to us by the teacher. I hope you understood this. Now let's look at the next example. Okay, so verbs with prepositions. You know prepositions, don't you? Okay, so let's have a look. Someone broke into the pet shop. In this example, you see the preposition and verb together. So the pet shop was broken into. Okay, this is the change. And the second example here is they looked for the baby. Okay, in this example you see the baby was looked for. Okay, and next is they listened to the music. And in this case what we find is music is listened to. Some common passive expression. First, you see the example here, he was arrested. It's not necessary to say that who arrested. It's obvious agent, that is the police who arrested. So in such case we always use passive sentence. Now the second sentence is my bike has been stolen. And it's unknown. When the agent is unknown, we use only the passive sentences. And the third sentence is the road is being repaired. Here it's not very important for the agent to mention the agent here. Okay, the very important thing is what happened, the road is being repaired. Okay, and the last sentence here you see the form can be obtained from the post office. And we are moving to the next example. Okay, intransitive verbs, they are go, sleep, run, disappear, walk, etc. Okay, in this case you see he goes to school at 9:30 a.m. This type of sentences do not change into passive form. We do not change them. Okay, and we sleep at night. Let's look at the next example. He disappeared after the party. In this sentence we can't change into passive voice. And similarly the last sentence here is John walks for miles. We can't change this sentence into passive. I hope by now you have got the fundamental ideas of active and passive voice. In the SLC examination, this portion, active and passive voice, they are asked. Now we are going to look at the examples. Choose and copy the best answers. This is the SLC model. Now we can practice here. Number 1, this song we have 3 options: composed, is composed, was composed. And the correct answer is was composed, because we have last year here and we are changing into passive form. Similarly, we are going to look at the second example. In the example, the sentence is no one can solve the problem. It can be changed into passive form. You see some options here. The problem can be solved, the problem cannot be solved, the problem cannot be solved by no one. The exact answer is the problem cannot be solved. Now let's move to the third sentence. In question number 3, we see he did not invite his friends to the party. Here you see the negative sentence. In this sentence we have to make negative passive. So his friends were not invited to the party. Here we see this is past tense and the passive is also in the past form. Alright, now let's move to number 4. In number 4 we see our new school building, and here are 3 options: is building, is being built, and is built. In this case our new school building is being built. Alright, so we move to the next example here. You see the sentence. In the sentence you have to buy a raincoat. Here you see the form have to buy. In this sentence, when we change into passive form, a raincoat comes first. A raincoat has to be bought. Alright. Similarly, we move to number 6. In number 6, the sentence here is don't open the door. This is imperative sentence and it's in negative form. In this case, we do the passive form like let the door not be opened. Alright, I hope you got the points. And When we move to number 7, the sentence here we see, nobody has seen the film. It's also a negative sentence. When negative sentence comes in active voice, we use the negative form in passive. Like, the film has not been seen. As it is perfect tense, been has been used here, and as it is negative, and here comes the negative form. Okay. Similarly, we move to number 8. In number 8, you see the sentence, Devkota wrote Muna Madan. In this sentence, you see the past tense here. Subject, verb and object. It's a very common sentence. What we see here is, the correct answer is, here should be the past one was written. That means Muna Madan was written by Devkota. Okay, here we go. In number 9, we see the sentence in interrogative form, in question form. And in question form, we can change into passive. Again, it comes in question form. That is, you see, are you typing a letter? So, what happens is, this can be changed, is a letter being typed? In this case, what happens is, being is added. When here is continuous form, what is very important is being. And past participle, as I mentioned earlier, you use the past participle form there. Alright. And in question number 10, what we see is, the boy has done his homework. You see the perfect tense here. The boy has done his homework. And when perfect form comes, we use been. So, what happens is, his homework has been done by the boy. Similarly, we move on to number 11. In number 11, you can see, can you read this later? It's also in question form. And when the active is in question form, passive is also in the same. That means in the question form. Alright? So, here the sentence starts with can. And in passive also, it starts with can. So, you see here, can this letter be read? Now, let's look at number 12. In this sentence, you see, I was given a book by Henry. Do you think it's an active sentence? I don't think so. It's a passive sentence, right? I was given a book by Henry. So, in this case, we have to change this sentence into active form. It's in past form, was given. So, when we change, it comes like this. Henry gave me a book. Now, let's move on to the next number. So, you see, in number 13, here are the letters written by you. It's in question form. Do you write the letters? Do you write the letters here? Okay. Number 14. What do we see in number 14? A new ring road. Is it an agent? No, it's not an agent, right? So, when the subject which is not an agent comes, obviously we have to use passive form. Alright? So, here a new ring road is being built. Similarly, in this question, we can use by whom. By whom is it finished? When you make active form of this, who finished it? And in number 16, you see here, I have to attend a meeting. Here comes have to form. When such kind of has, have or had form comes, you see, we use the be verb like this, to be. For example, a meeting has to be attended by me. Alright? It's not like other perfect tenses. Okay, now the next sentence comes, no one can solve this problem. Do you think this sentence is affirmative? Obviously not, because here comes no one. This is a negative sentence and our passive should be in negative form. Like, this problem can't be solved. So, now we are coming to the last sentence here, that is number 18. Do not insult the weak. This is an imperative sentence, isn't it? Let the weak not be insulted. That means we should not insult the weak. I hope you understood this lesson that is very useful for the SLC examination. Today we discussed active and passive voice. I hope you got the general idea about the using active and passive sentences in your practical life. This grammatical portion is equally important in the SLC examination. So we practiced some sentences which are based on SLC examination. Next time we will come with new English lessons. Till then, goodbye.